Welcome back to Shop Talk here live at the ARA show from Las Vegas, Nevada, powered by A&A. We are joined here today by Melissa Hanna from United Rentals. Melissa, thank you very much for joining us.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
And Elliott Vigil. Elliott, thank you very much for being here again.
Thank you.
So, Melissa, your world, it revolves around workforce at United Rentals and the rental industry, right? Is that a fair
statement? Yeah, for sure.
Your world, we'll put it that way.
Yeah.
So, workforce may be, and I've heard it described this way, the biggest headwind for the growth of the rental industry. And I think you might be able to say the same thing about some of the industries that we serve and other related industries. So with that in mind, when I think about workforce in the rental industry, some of the challenges that we have and what we're doing to try to address those challenges, where does that start? Does that still start with raising awareness and the efforts that we need to continue to make sure that young people know about the amazing careers that we have here in the rental industry?
Oh, I think that is a huge piece of it, for sure. Educating the incoming generation of what we have to offer. And when you think about, so many students go to college and they think, oh, I want to major in management or marketing or so many different things, but they don't necessarily say, I want to go into a career in rental, because they just really don't know about it, right? So as much as we can get in front of that and educate them, we're starting even in high schools. Junior high is not too early to start. Technical schools and colleges, as much as we can get in front of them and educate them on the different, many opportunities in the rental industry, we think is super important.
Well, it truly is. And I have a question for you specifically related to something you just said. So starting early and reaching kids when they're really still kids. The challenge with that is there are limitations as to their ability to work in the business or at a branch until they're, in most cases, 18.
Right.
Yeah. So how do you approach that, and what are some ways that as an industry we can do a better job of reaching students, reaching kids when they're in junior high, when they're early on in high school, maybe before they've already made a decision, hey, after high school I have to go to a 4-year college and that's the path that I'm going down.
Right. There's a lot of diesel type high schools with diesel programs. So we know there's already an interest in that and the technical ability. So certainly educating them. But you're right, the age requirement is a challenge if they want to work in high school and truly be working on equipment, because we're very safety sensitive. So there are challenges. We've explored it, and there are ways to consider doing that, but we haven't jumped into it yet.
Okay.
So it's more about just bringing awareness of our industry. And we tell them in high school, as soon as you graduate, we have development programs that we haven't hired under the age of 18.
Okay. And I'm not sure that is a viable solution in the near term, but I think it's something important that we think about. So Erica Singleton, our Director of Workforce Development for ARA, and I were just at a conference in December in San Antonio, the Career and Technical Educators. Mm-hmm. And I was talking with a gentleman. He works for a school district, actually not too far from where I'm based in Chicagoland. And he was talking about creating programs for students in high school to be able to introduce them to industries like rental, because he didn't know about the career opportunities in equipment rental. And he's someone in an administrative type position, pretty high up within a school district that has some influence over what students do post high school.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's an interesting opportunity for us to continue to work together as an industry and try to find solutions to engage young people before maybe they can actually come work for us.
Agreed. And even inviting them to branches and letting them see and look around without actually going into the shop and being around the equipment is one solution.
For sure.
Yeah.
Let me throw one out at you. So what would you, obviously the platform has tons of rental companies. And the more we work as a community, the more we help each other as a community.
Mm-hmm.
What would you recommend, or what would you inspire with your years in the industry of work? Not every company has workforce development. What would you love to see the industry as a whole do, or what have you found worked for developing more employees, more skills, more talent in the industry? Like, give somebody a gem that if we all did this on a local level, it would help the industry as a whole. Something that's worked for you in all your experience.
So we've focused so much on development. We put a lot of time and effort and resources into putting together development programs where we've engaged with our field leaders and our employees on, how would we develop a technician internally? So certainly there's a lot of that internal development, and then also mentoring those who are retiring, letting them stay on a part-time basis if they would like.
That's brilliant.
And helping them train the younger generation coming in. And we all know there's been a skilled trades shortage in general. Mm-hmm. I think that's turning a little bit. I think that there's been a recognition that there are so many very fruitful careers that you can go into without going and getting a 4-year college degree.
Absolutely.
Through high school programs, technical schools, or just development programs within organizations. So we've really tried to embrace that. And instead of going and paying for an education necessarily, come work for us and we will provide you with the skills and tools that you need to succeed.
Outstanding. So let me ask you another crazy one that gets asked all the time. People always say, what does it take? Like, what do you look for when you walk in and you say, look, I'm looking for somebody, and there's certain skills, mm-hmm. certain traits, certain personalities, or a background that you find makes for amazing rental people? Because I would love to hear what that pattern is. We had this conversation at dinner last night with some people, and it was epic. I want to hear your opinion.
Certainly communication skills is really important. Any customer service skills, we're always looking for that. I mean, we are a customer-driven industry, and we put a lot of emphasis on that, being flexible, adaptable, willing to learn, mm-hmm. willing to just embrace, what we can offer for them.
Love it.
Is important.
Absolutely. And is there certain, I need to know, companies ask all the time, do you find that things like Myers-Briggs, these are all tests, not to say who you should or shouldn't hire, but give you an idea of who you are hiring. So there's companies use Myers-Briggs, they use DISC assessments, yep. They use culture index. Do you ever look at some of those, and do you use any of those at United Rentals? And I'm not endorsing any of them, but do you find that it's beneficial to help?
It is. So we do leverage an assessment tool, and we have profiles set up for different positions. Mm-hmm. And it just helps us with identify the suitability for a position. It is simply a data point. It is not the end-all be-all in candidate selection. Obviously the interview, their background, experience, and considering everything is important. But an assessment can help. It can provide an indicator about if they're the right fit for the role.
Perfect.
And then we also do leverage DISC and 360s, but that's more internal, and it's for our leadership development, just to help our leaders continue to evolve.
So within leadership development, somebody made a comment today, and I absolutely loved it. The gentleman came in and he said, there comes a point where you have to know it's not whether you want the position or not. There comes a time where you need to move on and let other people move up. And I know United Rentals has a phenomenal leadership and development program. Give somebody a clue on, if they don't have an amazing department head, if they don't have millions of dollars worth of it, how do you develop great leadership to help your company elevate? If you're a single location, how do I develop my leaders?
I think so much of it is mentoring and providing them with the on-the-job experience that will help them teach, show, let them learn by observing and actually doing, but with a mentor who is able to help them. And, if they make a mistake, it's not a mistake, it's a learning, right? It's just part of the development. And especially for a small location, one shop.
That's right.
It's all about showing.
That's wonderful. Now, you came up through the automobile. You came up through Hertz.
Yeah, Hertz.
Yeah, they changed, yeah.
Rental and then Hertz Equipment Rental, which turned into Hertz Rentals. Yeah.
There we go. With all those years, and I know some of them have absolutely amazing leadership and communication programs. And it's interesting to me, you mentioned when I said, what were the key things you looked for? The first thing you said was amazing communication skills. Where does somebody learn? Because we don't get taught it as kids. Where do you learn how to be a better communicator? Because it's critical. LinkedIn just did a study that they sent out to tens of thousands of companies. The number one thing they said that every company said they wanted was better teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
And the number two thing was communication. So thanks for being right on point. What would you like to see to help people develop better communication skills? If you're in employee development, how do you develop better communication?
So a lot of it is project work, teamwork. In a branch, everybody's working together. We have something at United Rentals called 1UR, which is everybody working together and communicating and making sure there's no breakdown of communication throughout the process. So it's laying out the expectations. And when they're working as a team, you just naturally have to communicate. So some of it is just in what they're doing daily. We also do a lot of training that I wouldn't say specifically is around communications, but it's a component of it because you have to communicate to go through the training.
Do you believe in team building activities?
I do.
Give an example of your favorite one. Doesn't matter when you got it in your career. I know you had a very illustrious career. Name one where you said, man, that made an impact.
Oh gosh, there's so many team building over the years. I'll tell you a fun one. We did just last year. We have an annual meeting where we bring all of our leadership together, about 2,500 people last year. And we did
just the leadership.
Right. Our branch managers and region district leaders, corporate staff. But we decided to take on a team building activity. I'm involved with planning out our annual meeting content and what we do. So we decided to have all different types of materials on a table. And we had many different rows and tables, and they were broken into about 8 people per table. And it was all about trying to build the highest structure that would stand. And it was materials like toilet paper rolls, then the straws, and little flexible, I don't even know what they're called, but all different types of things, little blocks. And it was just fun to see what and they took it so seriously.
Oh my gosh.
So seriously. They're competitive.
Hyper competitive people, yeah.
So they were all trying, and then they would get it really tall, and then it might fall over. But that was a fun one that comes to mind because we just did that one last year.
I think that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
And a great way to encourage teamwork, right?
And it was. And they had to communicate.
And you have to communicate. That's right. So let me ask you a question about growing our workforce and finding people to grow our workforce. So number one, there aren't enough people working in the industry to backfill, the people that we're going to be losing from the industry, say in the next decade. So we have to look outside of the rental industry. Are there industries that we should be recruiting from? I know your focus is on talent acquisition. or are there skills that we can look for that we can bring those people in, the right people in, and then train them, develop them, help them, kind of elevate through the company. Are there? How would you answer that? How what do we need to do, and where do we need to look to find those people?
Right. So a couple of things with that. First of all, we like to do a combination of recruiting efforts. So certainly if we can find the skilled, experienced, industry-specific, great, but we by no means rely on that because to your point, the talent pool is not large enough. And as we continue to grow, and every company in this industry continues to grow and get bigger, how do we support that and make sure we have the people? And it's, what we've already talked about, recruiting out of schools because they haven't even begun their career yet. So finding them, bringing them in, developing them. But other industries specifically, anything construction related, is, I think, very relevant. Other rental industries, so car rental, truck rental, even uniform rental, anything where it's, they're renting something, it's the same. They just have to come in and learn our product. We have such a vast product line.
Right. It's a lot to learn.
It's a lot to learn. So when you think about that, identifying people who can operate in a fast-paced environment, very adaptable, willing and able to learn, and just handle the many different priorities that come up throughout the day. I also think anyone who's worked on a farm, you find a lot of people who grew up as kids working on equipment on farms or any kind of outdoor activity, even landscaping companies tends to work well because they generally like being outdoors, and a lot of our employees are outdoors, whether they're sales reps going on construction sites, with drivers loading and unloading and delivering equipment outdoors. There's an outdoorsy element
That's right.
to our industry, so anything along those lines as well.
That's an important component, and they usually have experience working with equipment, the types of equipment that a lot of our industry businesses rent.
That's right.
So I think that's a great way of looking at how we can find people to bring into the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Once we do that, are we doing enough to train them? Or could we be doing more? And I'm not just talking about just United Rentals, but talking about as an industry, because maybe there aren't as many formal, well-defined education and training programs. Is there an opportunity for us to do more there to continue to elevate the professionalism of our industry?
I think we can always do more. I think we have to recognize what we have, which is the ARA. I mean, ARA has done a tremendous job of providing learning opportunities with your curriculum for technicians and others as well. There's other organizations who do that too. And then there's trucking organizations that will help them get their CDL, and they get training that way for people who want to be drivers. And for us, I mean, we do a lot of that. We do a lot of, we have a very thorough technician development program. We have a driver development program, sales development program, operational training. So we can do so much with providing training, but then a lot of it is just they learn as they do, right? So they can go through training, but they have to have the hands-on experience. And that's another thing we do at United Rentals. We have what's called experience maps. So if someone wants to aspire to another position, they can look at the experience map for that role and try to get those hands-on, on-the-job experiences while they're in this role, but working towards that role. So then when that role becomes available, they've been getting experiences along the way that are helping them develop for that.
I think that is an incredible value and benefit to someone that's looking at where to take their career. And I would look at that. I mean, do you look at that as a recruiting tool to be able to speak to that?
Mm-hmm.
You're coming in at the entry level, right? You're just starting out, and maybe you don't have the experience or the skills to come in at a mid-level position within a branch.
Yeah, they
See that as a recruiting tool?
They say, I mean, and you'll see it all the time. I know you know this, but they ask companies all the time. They say, what are the top 5 reasons why people quit? And it speaks credit is that always in the top 5 is, do I have a career path? Which is what that is. It's leadership, it's communications, it's a career path. Compensation, I think, is like number 4 or 5, right? It's not as high up as people would actually think. Is that people would rather know, is there potential for growth? Do I have a great team that I'm part of? All of those things they say actually pay a bigger contribute. How do you address the top things on, I mean, obviously you have employee development, but how do you develop a culture for retention?
Right. Well, I was actually just going to say culture. Culture is such a key component, but what makes up a culture, right? And it's hard to define that. We feel like we truly provide a culture that is really inclusive, that has, a lot of the growth and development that's so important. They can see their path. We have a culture that encourages open dialogue, open communications. We do quarterly conference calls with our senior leaders. In fact, we're having one tomorrow. And our CEO is on a conference call. Anyone in the company can call in, and he speaks. And then we turn it, and also our CFO, some others will speak. And then we turn it over to the employees. Open forum. We have no idea what questions are going to be asked. And anyone in the company can listen. And they're asking questions to our senior leaders. So just having the ability to do that and having access to anyone in the company. We also have a suggestion where they can email and send, suggestions or questions, and we respond very quickly. We do engagement surveys, so we learn where are there opportunities, where are we really strong, where are there opportunities or pockets of opportunities where we can continue to just make it a really great place to work, right? Where they want to come in. We value safety tremendously. We say, we don't want you to come in we don't want you to leave the way you came in. We want you to leave better.
That's right.
Than the way you came in.
So let me ask you one key thing. That culture that you speak about, phenomenal, love it. Obviously, United Rentals has been acquiring a number of companies. There's been some mergers and acquisitions. In my career, it's everything from RSC, through NEF, through NES, Blue Line. There's been a lot of companies that have been acquired. And if you're going to maintain your culture, when you merge, when you acquire companies, there's a blending of families. How do you maintain that culture, and how do you keep things on course when oftentimes there's a cultural clash? How do you bring people in and integrate them into what you're building?
Right. So first of all, with the cultural clash, we do try to avoid that as much as possible. That's something we tend to try to make sure they're a good cultural fit. But when we do acquire companies, it's all about the people. It's about the people and fleet. And with the people, we recognize there was something really special about that company, which is why we were interested in having them join the United Rentals family. And we try to retain whatever made them special as much as possible coming in. And it is interesting when you think about it, because we have grown through acquisitions, like for many years, right? So many different companies coming together. And although we're a large company, for our industry, we're a large company, we have this family feel, like we really do. We have a family feel in this large company. And that's so much about just embracing people, as we're acquiring companies, we try to embrace that. We communicate immediately we communicate immediately with anybody that we're acquiring and letting them know, this is what to expect. And we communicate all throughout. We share about our benefits and our total rewards. And another thing that actually makes us special is the idea of employee ownership in the company. So we give stock grants periodically to every single employee of the company. So
Perfect. They're invested in your success.
yeah, in their success and
Their success.
It's
right.
yeah.
I love it. Aligning those goals. Let me ask you one last question before we wrap up. So why is it so important for us going forward, looking into the future, to build up the workforce the way that we need to for the industry? Why is it so important that we work together, that it's not just each company, selling what they have to offer, but each company, in addition to that, coming together and selling what the industry has to offer?
Because our industry continues to grow. And I think the more we share and learn from each other, the better we can all be, right? And I think about even my involvement with the ARA Workforce Development. I'm on the committee with our competitors, and it's been really, really great just to share and talk and communicate and learn. We have a lot of the same challenges, a lot of the same successes, and, just trying to brainstorm together, how do we bring awareness to the industry? And doing that together and, having that focus, I think has been really helpful.
No doubt. And we need it. So thank you so much, Melissa, for everything that you're doing for workforce, for the industry, and everything that United Rentals is doing to support that as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time today.
Well, thank you. Really appreciate being there.
Absolutely. Have a great one.
I mean,
Melissa, thank you very much.
thank you so much.
And thank you for viewing Shop Talk at the ARA Show live from Las Vegas, powered by ANA.